Bonjour, hi, and welcome back to another episode of Matthew's Always Wrong. And today, I want to get into a bunch of news, kind of expanding on one of the previous podcasts we did about the climate change, the climate crisis, right? Today, I really want to focus in on the EV market and how government intervention does not work. How, when you have a government who continuously spends money without check, without any care in the world for any actual sound economic or business sense, that people are gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt people. It's gonna hurt the economy. And all of these ideas where, yes, if we print trillions and trillions of dollars, no. Inflation will be transitory. We won't have a massive public debt. We won't have this staggeringly stagnant economy, right? The economy's great. The numbers are going up. Everyone's employed. That's what they tell people. But then when you actually look deeper and you actually talk to people, they don't believe it. They don't see any of the economic benefits. Oh, everyone's employed. New jobs are being created. Yeah? Ask anyone around you who's under the age of 30 how they feel about the job market. But that's not even what I want to get into. I want to get into these EV. So I want to go over a little bit of the entire market. The market's kind of hitting a rough patch right now. EV adoption has gone to the point where it's no longer early adopters. So previously, all the growth, everything, all the Tesla supporters, all this came from these early adopters, people who truly believed in the cause, truly believed that electric vehicles were the future and that they were, by definition, better than combustion vehicles. So that's how Tesla was able to grab such a massive market, even at quite luxurious prices, quite high prices that most people couldn't afford. As Tesla developed and matured, they were able to introduce cheaper models, so the Model 3 and the Model Y, to then boost demand and start expanding that reach besides rich early adopters. Now, what they're seeing is an economic environment that isn't as happy as it was before. It isn't as great as it was before. It's not as rosy. It's not, people are struggling a little bit more. The economy's kind of like a secret recession where big businesses do great, but everyone else, who cares, right? So Tesla just released their earning numbers, and they were quite miserable. They weren't great. Automotive revenue was down 13% year over year. Some of that was due to volume declines, but a lot of that too was because of price. They had to drop a bunch of prices in order to spur up demand, and they have all these cars. Their inventory's piling up, so they have to drop the prices to spur up a little bit more demand. But that doesn't seem to be working because even those price cuts, $10,000, $20,000 price cuts, still isn't justifiable for most people. The infrastructure isn't there. And even with all this economic government support and all these subsidies, they're still having a little bit of trouble. Earnings down 55%, and their free cash flow going negative. Tesla had, for a longest period of time, had a lot of trouble becoming profitable. And then once it did, that allowed it to be included in the S&P 500 and allowed it to become one of the top 10 companies in America. However, now, investments are needed to ramp up for the Cybertruck, the Tesla Semi, and other investments in terms of AI and cheaper models. And those are kind of getting expensive. The Cybertruck rollout has been a lot tougher than expected, where you've got these safety issues and them having to recall literally all 2,500 of them that they've made because the metal sheet on the gas pedal comes off and then stays in the completely accelerated position. So Tesla's having a little bit more issues than normal. And with this happen, and they're investing on all this growth, and they see, well, we only have this much cash left. So what are we going to do? For the first time in Tesla's history, they've had to do massive layoffs, laying off 10% of the entire workforce. and just yesterday announcing that the entire supercharger unit was also going to be cut, around 500 people. They're also saying in this quarter, they also said that volume growth is expected to be substantially lower than expected for the next few quarters. Previously saying that they announced saying that they should see revenue and volume growth at around 50% per year for the next couple years. They're revising that saying, no, it's not going to happen. Because all these early adopters, they're running out. And most people don't really want, besides that 8% of the people who are buying these electric cars, most people still don't want to give up the gas because it's too foreign. The technology is still quite new, even though it was invented in the 1800s. The electric car was actually invented before the gas car. But once they realized that batteries were less efficient, they completely switched to gas-powered cars. Now, electric cars are making a comeback under this whole climate alarmism thing. But it's neither here nor there. They also said, and this is the reason why the stock somehow jumped 15% after reporting abysmal numbers. They said that they're going to be speeding up the cheap model. So there's always been this idea that Tesla was going to release a mass market car that was even cheaper than the Model 3, because the Model 3 was essentially their mass market car. It was cheap enough that they were able to get a lot more people than those who couldn't afford the $150,000 Tesla S and X, right? The Model 3 averaging close around $50,000. Now they're saying they're going to be speeding up the development of this massively cheap car, probably $25,000 a year. Toyota Camry, Toyota Yaris, Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic type car at that price point, so they could really go mass market. And I'm saying if this does come out and it's okay, it would really work in terms of the market, and that's why investors are seeing and they're investing into this company. But in order to have it that cheap, a lot of things need to be cut out. Your battery range isn't going to be that good. You'll get, 300 kilometers in battery range? And unless you're giving people at least 500 to 600 kilometers in range, most people are still scared, have a lot of range anxiety when looking at these electric cars. They're also saying that they're going to be focusing even harder on robo-taxis and full self-driving. This has been a large point of contention because a lot of people don't really believe that Tesla will be able to fully develop full self-driving. Yeah, they're getting all this data, but humans are, by definition, unpredictable. And having these fully autonomous vehicles on the road is a lot harder than what people might be thinking. And they're also saying these robo-taxis. So what Elon is trying to do is position Tesla less from the car side, which is kind of declining right now and is not doing too great, to look at how good the future is going to be when we develop all these things. When we develop all these things. None of the three things that they announced that investors really rallied over have materialized yet. And in fact, seem very precarious for the short future. They're saying this cheap model will come out in early 2025 or late this year, which is completely unrealistic. And if you look at Tesla's track record, will not happen. It'll be at least 4 or 5 more years before they can actually release this. They'd have to improve technology. They have to improve better manufacturing practices, better batteries, more vertical supply chains. It's a lot harder than they're making it seem. And then the second reason why Tesla stock pumped again recently, just a few days ago, is because in China, they removed a bunch of restrictions on how data is collected for the cars to allow for full self-driving in the country. Tesla's been fighting basically a war in China for the electric vehicle market because it's hard for Tesla to create these electric vehicles when you got these Chinese companies that are getting even bigger government subsidies. They're using even more slave labor than what Tesla's using, right? And it's a lot harder for them to compete. So that's why Tesla and BYD have seen so much competition. Again, I spoke about this more in a previous episode, but that's just a basic underlying of what's going on. So the EV market, It's not doing great. All these startups are collapsing. They're running out of money. They're just burning cash. None of these things can make money, and none of these things have seemed to become very mainstream, aside from creating these ultra-luxury $100,000 cars for tech enthusiasts and early adopters. So what are other companies doing? Well, large automotive companies, Volkswagen, Ford, GM, Stellantis, all these things, have looked at the growth in EVs and they're going, well, you know, they're going to be mandating all these electric vehicles and whatever the governments are doing. And the government's giving out all this free money, so we might as well capture it. We might as well get in the game, right? But it seems to be a lot harder for these large companies to compete with Tesla and even turn their EV divisions profitable. Ford lost $1.5 billion on their EV division alone last quarter, totaling roughly $150,000 of losses per car sold. So every Mach-E or Ford F-150 Lightning they sell, they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. You know, it's the ramp up, whatever it is. But again, these companies aren't doing so well. So what they're going to try and do is try and bring the EV to the masses. They want to bring these electric vehicles to the massive. And that's what Volkswagen, Honda, and Stellantis are trying to do. And these are the three main stories I want to talk about today. And looking at the new EV battery plants, the new manufacturing facilities that are being built in Canada. So the first one is the Volkswagen EV solid-state battery plant that is supposed to be completed by 2027. And it's supposed to create 3,000 direct jobs and 30,000 indirect jobs. And it's going to be constructed in St. Thomas, Ontario. Now, why are we concerned about this? Well, they're saying it's going to cost $7 billion to construct this factory, and it'll span 350 acres. So it's a pretty big factory. It's a big factory. It'll make a lot of jobs, direct and indirect, and it's quite close. It's only 2 hours north of Detroit. So it's in an area that's known for its automotive prowess. It's going to be creating a lot of these EVs, a lot of these batteries. But here's where I've got problems with it. Here's where I got a few things to say. The total expected subsidies on this one plant will be $13.7 billion. That's coming from federal and provincial funding. On a $7 billion plant, they're expecting $13.7 billion in subsidies. And these subsidies are supposed to extend all the way till 2032, where, you know, some of these subsidies are direct for building it, and others are tax credits and other subsidies as they continue to produce vehicles. For the government, well, you might go, well, look, sometimes you need these subsidies to stay competitive. Okay. It's going to take 20 years for the government to break even on this plant. 20 years, meaning they will only break even on the subsidies they spent by 2043. It makes no sense. It's nonsensical. Why are we spending nearly twice the expected cost of the plant and just giving it to these multinational corporations to create, you know, a few thousand jobs? Look, I'm all for creating jobs, but not at $13.7 billion when the government's already running deficits, outrageous amounts of deficits, right? 20 years to break even. So why did they do this? Well, because America and Canada, as you know, have free trade agreements. The former NAFTA trade agreement, which then got revised slightly, but so essentially, when you're a large multinational corporation like Volkswagen, you're gonna look at Detroit, look at Ontario. Those are basically the two places you're gonna go if you want to build new plants. And they're going, hey, Detroit's offering, or America's offering this much in subsidies, $13.7 billion in subsidies. Hey, Canada, you want us to build the plant here? Match them. Match those subsidies. And the Canadian government's going, and the Ontario government's going, you know what? Those 3,000 jobs are better for us. Who cares about the 20 years to break even? It's going to cause a lot more economic development. Sure. But it doesn't need to be that much. We don't need those jobs that much. Yes, jobs are good, but why aren't we spurring homegrown activities, right? Why don't we create our own auto industry instead of letting these large corporations come in, create jobs, which will ultimately be slowly cut over time? Those 3,000 jobs within 20 years will probably be down to 2,000, 1,000 jobs. If you've looked at the automotive history, what happens? Not only is it a boom and bust cyclical industry, where people will get laid off when the economy starts going badly, but as automation continues to rise, a lot of those jobs will become replaceable. And that's exactly what's happened. That's why Detroit's become such a, sorry to say it, shithole, because all of these jobs that used to be there, they got replaced by automations, they got replaced by better machinery, more efficient factories, and a lot of these factories shut down. Or they've offshored them, gone to Mexico, gone to other countries where it's a lot cheaper to make these cars. So there's a cost involved. We shouldn't be subsidizing double the cost of the plant for a few thousand jobs, which will likely leave anyways. And then if you look at just the tax revenue to collect it, it's not that much, right? Most of the tax revenue to break even on it will be from income tax on the workers. That's what they're basing it off of. And I guarantee you, it'll take a lot longer than 20 years to pay this back, because the economy is not going to be perfect for those 20 years. And it's going to be a lot harder to start, negotiating with these companies going, hey man, we're going to leave our factory if you don't give us more money. And these companies are essentially blackmailing the country and the provinces by saying, look, we'll take our jobs elsewhere if you don't give us more free money. Sorry, don't care, right? Don't care. And that's exactly what happened with the Nexstar plant. So this is a joint development between Stellantis, which is the company that now owns Fiat Chrysler, as well as a bunch of other European brands. So Stellantis and LG, they partnered up together to create this new battery plant in Windsor, Ontario. Again, also near Detroit. This plant will cost $3.4 billion and is expected to create 2,500 direct jobs. And is expected to be completed by, 2025. So it's quite recent. It's almost done, right? There's a few things wrong with it. So let me say, on the $3.4 billion it's going to cost, they got $15 billion in subsidies. That's even worse than the VW plant. $15 billion in subsidies, which go out all the way till 2032 to create 2,500 direct jobs. And that's not even the worst part. Why everyone's getting mad, they don't actually care about the subsidies. You know what people are getting mad, and especially politicians? Oh, because the optics are looking bad. Why are they looking bad? Well, Nexstar is using subcontractors to build the actual plant itself, to construct the manufacturing plant. And guess who these subcontractors are hiring? Temporary foreign workers. They're not even hiring Canadians. Apparently, they've already been using 900 temporary workers and are expected to bring in 1,600 more South Koreans, temporary foreign workers, to build this plant. Going, hey, they need the specialization. We need these special skills that maybe the Canadians don't have, right? How specialized are these skills that they need? Shouldn't these jobs that we're paying for 3 times over, 5 times over, shouldn't these jobs go to Canadians to construct it, then to work in it? Nexstar comes out and goes, hey guys, you guys are just lying. We're actually only using 72 out of the roughly 2,000 workers, which are temporary, because of specialized skills for the type of equipment that they're using. It's proprietary equipment, so we need these 72 workers. I think Nextstar's lying, and I think the government's seeing this. They're going, hey, we've got all these union jobs here. We're expecting to go work to complete and construct this plant. Why are you guys hiring these foreign temporary workers, which you could definitely pay less, which also send all their money back to South Korea, wherever they come from, and also don't pay tax dollars, right? So we're looking at this and going, hey, we gave you all this money. And by the way, Nextstar did exactly what I said they'd do. Nextstar saw the VW plant and all the subsidies they got, and they go, hey, we're going to pause construction till you give us more money. So the government, that's exactly what they did. They upsized the subsidies and they continued construction. They paused construction and demanded more money from the government. Is this the type of economic environment we want to be creating? Is this what we want to be doing as a country? Instead of having a free trade, open market system, no. We have to just give money to large corporations so they can create a few jobs, right? And then, just to top it up, little cherry on top, they won't even use Canadian workers. Nextstar's also saying, but it's okay, even the temporary workers are here, they won't be the ones who are running the plant once it's up. So they do admit that they're using, but they're saying 72. They're not, I'll tell you right now, they're not using 72 foreign workers. They're using a hell of a lot more. LG, all these companies, they want to hire their own people. It's a lot cheaper to hire foreign workers than to hire real unionized Canadian construction workers. That's a fact. That's the reality of the situation. Of course they're going to do it. Sure, there is some need for specialization. 72 does sound fine. That's 4% of the workforce. But here's the thing. How much can we trust them? We can't trust them. We don't know. But what they're saying, they wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, the union workers. They sent a letter to Justin Trudeau. They're going, hey, they're using all these foreign workers, a lot more than 72. We were promised these jobs. We've got people ready to work. We've got people whose families depend on these jobs. You promised us that we get these jobs. You paid for this factory 4 times over. Maybe we should be able to work. That's all they're saying. And finally, I want to talk about the third plant. This is the newest plant that just got announced. This is the Honda plant in Ontario. Are you ready for these numbers? This one kind of is okay. I'm kidding. $15 billion in plants. So this is definitely the largest investment that they're going to be doing. So it's going to create 2 new plants to be retooling, refurbishing 2 other plants that already exist in Ontario. These will be finished by 2028. This is getting $5 billion in direct subsidies and will only create 1,000 new jobs. At least Honda, they didn't complain saying, hey, give us more subsidies. But look, all they have to do is say, look at America. Look how much cheaper we can build in America. Look how much cheaper we can build it in Mexico. Look at what they're giving us. Give us the same thing. This is why the free trade market doesn't work. That's why in Europe, all these auto companies and all these countries are having so much tension, because auto companies in Europe, which is a completely free trade zone, right? So you've got all these auto companies that'll just move over to whatever country gives them the best subsidies. And that's the exact same thing that's happening here. So guess who's footing the bill for things you have to foot the bill to buy anyways? The taxpayer. You're paying for the plants to be built so that you can pay for more expensive electric vehicles, as the government forces you to get electric vehicles because normal gas cars are killing the planet. Why is it that the government gets to choose who gets free money? Why don't we just have a free market system that allows these companies to come in and look at an area and go, look, they've got all this infrastructure, they've got all these plants, they have all these specialized people. This seems like a good place to invest. Low tax rates, low government encroachment. So this looks like a great place to build. Instead of, hey, this is a meh place. There's a lot of government control. Taxes are high. But look, let's just ask the government if they can just pay it for us. Just build it for us, bro. JT, build us our factory, please. Please just build it. And you know what? Give us more money too, so that when we build it, we don't actually have to pay for any of these cars. And this just goes to prove that electric vehicles are still not economically viable, because if they were viable, then these companies, VW, Honda, Stellantis, and LG, they would all go and see, well, look at how much demand there is for these electric vehicles. It's such a profitable opportunity that, yeah, sure, we can foot the extra bill to building these multi-billion-dollar plants because it's such a big economic opportunity and we'll totally make back all our money. But that's not what's happening. That's not the reality. EVs are in a lot more precarious situation than they were in 2021, 2022. The market is saturating. Early adopters are tapped out. And most people, they don't really like it. They're not really into it, right? So the businesses that come here should be able to succeed without needing the government to pick who wins, right? And that's not to say that the automotive industry as a whole has to need massive government bailouts to continue operating. It's not to say that the Canadian government, the American government has bailed out nearly every automotive company when recessions happen. And it shouldn't be our job as Canadians to pay for these companies which send all their profits back to America, which don't reinvest in the community, and in fact, close down their factories, cut jobs when times get slightly tough, or even in good economic situations, in order to improve their profitability, their bottom line, and top up revenue. This is why we need to foster a homegrown economic situation where businesses are able to be created, where companies want to invest in Canada, but most importantly, Canadians create their own businesses. We need Canadian automotive companies. And if the EV situation is the way that we can expand our reach, Canada hasn't had its own car company since the early 1900s. So as we look at this apparently paradigm shifting economic course with these electric vehicles, why isn't Canada taking opportunity in creating and investing in its own companies, creating more startups, allowing for an easier economic situation with less government bureaucracy, with less taxes, with less all these Why are there tariffs between provinces? That doesn't make sense. We need to foster our own community. And if not, why don't we invest stronger in public transportation, perhaps, so that even in bad times, the government can collect revenue, more people actually turn to public transit because it's cheaper, and less infrastructure costs, and also we don't have to bail them out when they cut all their jobs. Why are we supporting making our own buses for the STM? Why isn't Canada making their own buses, making their own trains, making their own tramways and whatever it is? We should be creating our own public transit network that's even stronger so that we aren't so card dependent on these foreign national corporations. You have to think about these things. Is the cost worth it? That's the question. Are these 5,000, 6,000 jobs worth the $40 billion in subsidies costs? That's the question. Because you have to look at it for the long term. Sure, it looks good. It looks great to say, hey, look, we got investments, we've got all these things. But it's like that Simpsons episode where Homer looks all toned and in the back, all his fat's being clipped up. That's exactly what's happening. The situation isn't great. It's just that the government's paying. They're choosing who's winning. They're going, no, I'll give you all my money. Why isn't it just open so that entrepreneurs can come in? They can invest. Canadians can create their own businesses. Maybe free trade among the entire world isn't what's good for Canadian sovereignty, isn't what's good for the Canadian economic position. Maybe that's a factor. Maybe another factor is that these electric vehicles aren't as popular as everyone thinks they are. Maybe people like their gas cars. Maybe people look at it and go, why aren't we just drilling more oil so that gas prices go down instead of investing billions and billions of dollars? Imagine if the government spent that $50 billion in creating more drilling infrastructure and allowing companies to, and I'm not saying foreign companies, to come in and pump our oil out of here. I'm saying Canadian corporations, even crown corporations perhaps, public-private partnerships in the tar sands to create more oil assets, stronger oil assets that we can export, that we get all the money from, and that we can use to bring down prices for all Canadians. Maybe think about that. And when all these electric vehicles come to light, do you not think that the energy demand is going to massively increase to amounts that are unsupportable at this current rate? Our power grid isn't meant for this massive increase in electric vehicles. And guess what's going to be powering all these electric vehicles? I'm telling you right now, it won't be wind and solar. It won't be wind and solar. The only way you can move against it is go nuclear. But that's public opinion is so against nuclear right now that you know what's going to power all your EVs? Gas, coal, maybe not in Canada, but definitely in America, coal, and oil. That's the reality of the situation. You want to look at China? Oh, look how many EVs they have. Yeah, they're also building 3 coal plants a day. Think about that. They're building 1,000 coal plants this year just to sustain the energy demands of going fully electric. Why are we telling countries like Nigeria that your buses should all be electric when they can't even build houses? Maybe that's a thought. Maybe that's an idea. Maybe let them export their oil wealth so that they can develop, and then let the liberal ideologies come in and infect them and then destroy their country. Maybe let that happen first. But it should not be our job to be paying for all these things. We should not be held hostage by these multinational corporations going, hey, if you don't up your subsidies, we're going to pause construction and we're leaving. And then we're not even going to hire Canadians. How about that? How about that, Justin Trudeau? That's the reality of the situation for the electric vehicle market. It's not an ideal situation, and it is not a pro-Canada situation. It's not great. We're overspending in an economic period when we do not need to be overspending. We need to slow down the government. We need to shrink the government. Government spending has been out of control forever. Somebody needs to pay back those loans. Somebody needs to pay the debt. And guess who it's going to be? It's going to be us when they up our taxes to pay for the retirement pensions, to pay for all this spending that they're going is going to create all this economic miracle growth. There's no proof that spending all these subsidies on these new factories will magically spur up economic growth. And then what happens when the populations of these cities kind of stagnates and it becomes company towns? Oh, sorry guys, we have to cut half the jobs because AI can do it better than you. We've automated. Oh, we're going to shut down the factory, and then you have a ghost town. And you have a town that is completely collapsed. You need towns with a lot of companies in order to sustain it. A lot of small businesses. You can't just have one company and have a town around it. Because what happens when ultimately this company in this industry, the electric vehicle, or just the vehicle industry in general, what happens when a boom and bust period goes on? What happens when there's a recession? What happens when the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada, who said we're going to hit a soft landings, they were wrong, just like how they were wrong about inflation. Those jobs are going to get cut. They're going to get offshored. They're going to Mexico. Those jobs are going to Mexico. And that's just the reality of the situation. So this spending needs to be kept in check. And we shouldn't, instead of picking winners and losers. Why not just make an equal playing field for everyone so that everyone can benefit? So that was my little rant on electric vehicle plants. I wanted to get in a little bit. I've got a few more news stories to go over. This next one is actually about cars. So a few weeks ago, the Toronto police officer went online and started telling everyone, hey guys, we know there's a lot of break-ins, there's a lot of burglaries, a lot of car theft in the city. Maybe so that your house doesn't get ransacked, just leave your car keys at the front of your house so that when people rob you, they just break into your house, take your keys, and leave. That's what he told everyone. He told everyone, instead of, letting the police actually attack the crime issue, leave your keys at the front of the house so that the robber, because that's all the robbers want. They don't want anything else. They just want your car. So just leave the keys, make it easier for them. That is not the message we should be telling criminals and that we should be saying as a community with a police system, right? We shouldn't be telling people that, hey, your community is so unsafe that you gotta kind of leave your valuable possessions at the front. Yes, leave all your cash and all your gold bars right at the front of your house, right in front of your door, so that when thieves come in, they can just have easier access for it. That's the solution. That's what they think is going to help people. Thank you, Toronto Police. Thank you for this. Now put another pride sticker on your cars. More trans police officers now. But, is crime really that bad in Toronto? Yeah, it is. Toronto home invasions and auto thefts are up 400% year over year. In 2023, there were a total of 12,000 car thefts, which equals to one car theft every 40 minutes. Guys, just make it easier for the criminals to take your keys. Make it easier. Now, we're going to crack down on all you protesters, but let the criminals do what they want, because the criminals are victims too. It keeps going. You know why? Well, organized crime has been seen a massive increase. Where, they steal these cars, and then they bring them to ports, steal cars in Brampton, bring them to ports, ship them to the Middle East and North Africa. That's just what happens. Why in Brampton? Oh, well, maybe these people who are coming here, who are fresh off the boat, maybe these people have some criminal connections. Maybe we should have stronger immigration policy. Oh, I'm sorry. I love the LGBTQ plus S, 2+S police. You're right. Please don't arrest me. Well, that's what they're doing. There's organized crime syndicates come in, they break into houses, they steal cars, they ship them off. They're making a lot of money. And then citizens, whenever they're trying to do a citizen's arrest or trying to attack the criminals who are stealing their cars or following them, the police officer, you think they'd help them? The police telling one person that they can't actually get the car off of the train, off the shipping container in the train, because there's no proof that the car's in there, and then we'd have to go through all the companies. And the train's already gone, and it's gone. Your car's gone, and you should just kill yourself. Get on medically assisted suicide if they steal your car. But why is crime rising so much? I can tell you why. Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, and Democrats all over the world, this liberal idea where criminals are the victims. We need to stop imprisoning marginalized communities. Stop putting black people in jail. Because we have to be nice to criminals. These people, they can't help it. In 2018, Justin Trudeau introduced this bill called C-75, which allows repeat offenders to be released in the public despite having multiple arrests and conviction for the same crime. So what does that mean? I steal a car, okay? I go to prison, I get arrested. I get off on bail. I steal another car. I get arrested. I get off on bail. I steal a third car. I get off on bail, and I just keep doing it. Most criminals are these serial repeat offenders. You want to talk about organized crime? It's a few thousand people who have committed 100,000 crimes because they go in prison, they get let off. They go in prison, they get let out. When you're weak on crime, there will be more crime. The previous government, before Justin Trudeau, Stephen Harper, introduced minimum sentences for criminals, especially repeat offenders, where, if you do crime, you actually have to go to prison. You have to serve some time. But then everyone started complaining. They go, it's unconstitutional. It's not fair. You're just racist. The system works against immigrants. It works against minorities. Okay. Now you have a car theft every 40 minutes. How do you feel now? Do you feel real smart? I don't feel safe walking down the streets anymore. Yeah, because you voted on this new bail reform and all these other things to let all these violent criminals just walk the streets. And guess who's going to be committing the crimes? This whole idea that minorities are victimized because the system is racist is wrong. It's not true. It just happens that minorities commit more crimes per capita than whites. Why? Because they're poor, they're less educated, they have less community structure, more single motherhood. There's a lot of factors. I'm telling you right now, it ain't the system. It ain't the system. So that's what happens. Now Polyev coming in saying, yeah, we're going to reintroduce minimum sentencing. If you get convicted for the same crime 3 times, you should probably stay in prison because you will probably commit those crimes again. What's this idea where if you can just leave prison, that these people won't commit crimes again? Who thought of this? What leftist retard thought of this? You have to think sometimes, you people, right? Okay, you little leftist women, all right? You little leftists. You can believe whatever you want to believe. Oh, the criminals, blah, 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 racism. Your car just got stolen. How do you feel now? You feel smart? You thought that was a good idea? Oh, but that's just because the system's racist. Defund the police even more. I can't leave my house because I'm going to get stabbed in the metro now. What happens when you let criminals run free is there will be more crime. That's the end of that story. That got me riled up. I wanted to come into a few more things. So I got 2 more stories to go over. And this is really funny, I think, and it's great. It's really great. So remember how I spoke about these paper straws having these forever chemicals in them, and that they're actually worse for your health? Well, guess what else has a bunch of forever chemicals in them? Oh, Band-Aids. Band-Aids now cause cancer. Band-Aids have been found to have massive levels of, these forever chemicals that you're going to be putting on your open wound. It's going to seep into your bloodstream. Kids, adults are getting these forever chemicals, which have a lot of issues. Let me tell you a few of the issues around these forever chemicals. A 2021 study suggested that PFAS, which are the forever chemicals, can cause, quote, altered immune and thyroid function, liver disease, lipid and insulin dysregulation, kidney disease, adverse reproductive and developmental outcomes, and cancer. So what brands were affected by this? What brands were using these forever chemicals in them? Right? Oh, Band-Aid. Band-Aid, the name brand, yeah, they're using it. Care Science, Curad, CVS Health, Equate, First Honey, Rite Aid, Amazon, Solimo, Up and Up, Target, all of Target's own brand. Why are you using these chemicals in these products? Because it's cheaper? No, because they want they want to make people weak. This is why reproductive numbers are down. This is why testosterone's down. This is why cancer's up. Because we put these chemicals in everything that we tell people is totally safe, it's totally fine. Do you still trust the science now? Do you still trust the media now? We've been told, we've been seeing these ads forever. Just put a Band-Aid on it. Just put a Band-Aid on it. Oh, now you have cancer. Oh, now your dick don't work. Your sperm don't work. Don't exist anymore. It's all a psyop to make you weak. They're trying to weaken you. And they're starting with your kids. They're starting with you. They've started with your... They put these chemicals in everything. They brought these paper straws in, which have the exact same chemicals that you're ingesting. Why do we need these forever chemicals in these products? Think about it. We don't need them. It's not necessary to have cancer-causing things that are at like 10 times the normal rate, the safe usage levels, in Band-Aids. And my final story of today is another heartwarming story from the leftist ideologues. It's another, myth that we've been told. One of the biggest problems, apparently, is from the food industry. You're eating too much beef, you're eating too much meat. You gotta go vegan. You gotta go vegetarian. Because beef, it's killing the planet. It's a grass genocide. Yeah, so everyone in 2020, 2021 basically was led under the assumption that we're killing the planet because we're eating too much beef. Because, cows, they eat grass, they produce methane with their farts. They consume a lot of water, they consume a lot of land. There's a lot of farmland being used for these things. We had to clear the forest to build farmlands, even though forest totality on Earth is up. So eat fake meat. That's what they're going. They're saying you're going to eat bugs, you're going to eat lab-grown meat, and you're going to love it. That's what the World Economic Forum wants you to think. Klaus Schwab, you will not win. You will not get me to eat your bugs. I will not eat your fake plastic 3D printed steak. You know what I like? I like eating a good beef steak. Give me a nice piece of tacos. I like that. That's what I like to eat. But then you go, you're killing the environment. You're killing the environment. Guess what? Guess what? They lied to you about that too. University of California researchers found that fake lab-grown meats are, quote, orders of magnitude higher than retail beef based on production methods in terms of their climate impact. Up to 25 times more carbon intensive than traditional real beef. So they lied to you about that. But then they go, no, that's just a mischaracterization. It's just because our production methods aren't great right now, so we just have to develop better production methods. Okay. What are your projections for better production methods? Well, look, it could be 80% less carbon intensive than meat, or it could be probably 26% more intensive. We don't really know. So even in their projections, they're still saying it'll be more carbon intensive than beef. So this whole thing, stop having children, stop flying, stop using your car, stop eating beef, stop eating meat. It's all plans to make you weaker, it's to make you poorer. Because guess what? Buying other stuff is also expensive. In order to get your caloric gains, you know how many pieces of lettuce you gotta eat? It's a lot. It's a lot of lettuce. These people, they just lied to you. It's all to fit their agenda. It's all to fit the climate agenda. It's all to fit these leftist globalist agendas. Yes, eat this fake meat. Beyond Meat is healthier. Not only is it packed with chemicals, it's actually more unhealthy. Not only is it more unhealthy for you, it's also worse for the environment, according to them. So it doesn't even make sense. Oh, but the animals, they have rights. Excuse me? How about I euthanize you, okay? The government is killing people through medically assisted suicide because some people have mental health problems. They have anxiety, and the Canadian government's letting them die. Oh, but you care about the cows? These people don't make sense. None of these things make sense. If you actually look past the cloud of deception, the slight veil of normalcy, you will actually see the truth. You'll start seeing that they're just lying. Oh, but you gotta stop eating meat because it's so bad for the environment because cow farts. Yeah? How much does it hurt the climate to make fake beef? Oh, it's only 25 times more. 25 times more. Not percent. Times. If it put 100 kilograms of CO2 into the air, made up number by the way, with a cow, that would put up 25 times more. Think about it. If everyone switched off of beef now and went to lab-grown meats, we would negate the entire effect of you switching from oil to natural gas in North America and much more. So these people, they can't even follow their own regimens. It doesn't make sense. Look into these things. People, wake up a little bit because they're trying to attack you and we have to fight back. Canadian farmers don't deserve this. Why are we increasing the carbon tax on farmers? What happens when farmers aren't profitable anymore? Oh, there's no more food. There's no more food. If you put quotas saying, guys, we got to start killing cows. The entire milk industry produces too much cow pollution. The entire beef industry produces too much cow pollution. We got to kill them. We got to tax you. We got to do all these things. We got to penalize you, fine you. Why do you think everyone was protesting in Europe? All the farmers. Oh, you didn't hear about that? Yeah, because the leftist media is trying to hide it from you. Their goal is to hurt these farmers. They just want a large corporation to come in, buy up all these local farms, all these small farms, and have it be one corporation they can control that's going to end up poisoning us anyways. I can't wait until they put forever chemicals in my fake lab-grown meat. Please! That's the reality of the situation. Not only do they lie to you, but they don't even care. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even have to make sense for them because they know you'll believe it because they have everyone working on their side. They've got the media working on their side. They got the government. They got all the corporations. Everybody's working to hurt you so that they can make more money. And that's just the reality of the situation. Everyone wants more power and Canada is collapsing. We need to fight back as Canadians. We need to stop spending all this money on things that are not economically viable, and somehow we're paying triple the price of factories for a few thousand jobs that will get automated away in a few years. Maybe we should start getting police officers that are competent. Maybe we should start funding the police. I support the police. Defund the police. No, I'm going to defund you, okay? That's what's going to happen. I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to rob your car. And then you'll see how you like it. So that's all I've got for today. It was a pretty packed news day. I've got a lot more to say next episode about other topics. I want to thank everybody for listening. And hey, maybe I'm just wrong. Because I'm always wrong, right? That's what they want you to think. Thank you as always for listening. We'll catch you next time.